Is pride actually a bad thing? That's the question. You may be wondering why I'm sitting on top of a tree, especially since I'm afraid of heights. Well, as it turns out, I'm trying to get over my fear of heights, but I'm mostly just afraid of falling down.
In this video, I wanted to talk about pride. Is pride a bad thing? There are so many ways the word pride can be used today that it's not always obvious what the word even means. Sometimes it describes someone who's full of themselves. Sometimes it describes how you feel about being an American. Sometimes it describes gay stuff.
The thing that pride describes is a bit hard to grasp, considering the abundance of modern uses. But in this video, I hope to uncover perhaps what pride really is and how to think about it.
Most people split pride into two categories: good pride and bad pride. There's the guy who thinks he's better than everyone else because of some characteristic he has, and on the other hand, there are people who are simply unashamed of some characteristic they have, such as being an American or something.
However, these two categories never quite sat right for me. There was something off about them. For example, what if you were patriotic and unashamed of something that was bad?
Like, what if it was a crook being proud of how well they extort people? And at the same time, what if you were so self-confident that you could do a really good job at something? And what if you actually could?
So that's why I'm making this video, to hopefully see if there's a simpler understanding of pride. If you're going to put something into a category or build a framework to think about it, you really need to understand in detail the thing itself. So, pride.
Our English word pride can apparently be traced back to the Middle and Old English, with roughly the translation of unreasonable self-esteem, especially as one of the deadly sins.
Additionally, there were probably positive uses as well.
One such positive use, or at least neutral use of the concept I found, was in The Faerie Queene by Edmund Spenser. In it, he describes the cedar proud and tall. Here's the thing. Languages change over time. So what a word meant a long time ago may be totally different than what it means today. On top of that, a particular subculture might use a slightly different version of a word from what another culture uses.
But we can't just ignore the way people in the past used the word if we really want to understand it. We have to take all these uses into account and find the common denominator.
Now, I'm an American, so I'm going to attempt to gain an understanding of this word by understanding it in the context of American culture, which, let's just say, started roughly in the 1600s.
As it turns out, we know exactly which pieces of literature most influenced that culture. Obviously, there were various writings that played a part here and there, but central to the American culture, from its beginning through today, was the Bible. Now, we could go farther and farther back to understand why this was the case even in England before America, but there's no need to get carried away. I'm just going to look at American written literature, which had its greatest influence from the Bible. And if we wanted to get real specific, we'd want to look at the King James Version of the Bible, which was the most commonly used version throughout American history. So to better understand the American concept of pride, I searched the King James Version of the Bible, and guess what I found? Basically, every use was negative. The few that weren't were sort of neutral, but not necessarily positive. For example, Job 41:14 describes the Leviathan's scales as his pride, but every other reference has some negative context. I never once saw a positive use of the pride of a nation that wasn't immediately brought down with some form of destruction. There was something else I noticed while browsing all these references. Pride seems to have a metaphorically physical location. Like pride was always high. You're up high in pride, and when your pride is gone, you go low. That actually ties in well with Spenser's use of the word when he described the tree. The tree was high. Now, obviously, there's nothing wrong with being up high physically, socially, or financially. But it seems that the problem with things that are high is that they're more likely candidates to be proud. High things can look down on lower things. For me, this was a key to really unlocking what pride really is. Some proud things are high, but are not necessarily bad. Some proud things are high and are bad because of it. Pride is a highness that is metaphorical and internal to a person. Considering yourself higher metaphorically than everyone else makes you a proud person. If I'm the sort of person who's up high because of my status as an American, and then I look down on other people who aren't American as being worse than me, I'm doing pride the wrong way. There is pride in being an American, but not because of how much better these humans are than other humans.
Similarly, if I'm a person who's up high because I'm from some small country in Europe, and then I look down on Americans as being worse than me, I'm doing pride wrong there as well. I think the thing that makes pride bad, fundamentally, is what you think of people that are lower. In good pride, you're high, maybe distinguished. But in bad pride, you're high and look down on the people below. Instead of thinking you're better than someone else for the high skills or status you have over them, look up and thank the God that gave them to you. Because if you're high in pride, you do have to watch out. High things tend to fall. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. See you guys next time.